Guruprasad sir, namaskar sir. Morning, good morning ma'am.
Good morning, ji.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Namaskar, madam.
Namaskar, ji.
Namaskar.
I think Nalini, we can start. It's already 12.
Ma'am,
I think we can start.
yes, ma'am.
Shall we?
A very good afternoon to all of you. Distinguished Session Chair of Plenary Session 2, TATHYAM, Dr. Santosh Dhar, Rector and Dean Faculty of Doctoral Studies and Research, Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Indore. Dr. K.N. Guruprasad, Dean and Director, Sri Vaishnav Institute of Sciences. Speaker of today's session, Dr. Prakash D. Vyavhare, Professor, SDS ITS Indore, and Dr. Manish Manotra, Scientist B, Central Forensic Science Laboratory, Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. It's our privilege that such a distinguished guest have joined with us today. Now, I request Dr. Ashutosh Shukla, Coordinator, Sri Vaishnav Institute of Forensic Science and Convener, TATHYAM, to please do the floral welcome to our session chair, Dr. Santosh Dhar, Madam. Thank you, sir. Now, I request Dr. Santosh Dhar, Madam, to please welcome our today's speaker, Dr. Prakash D. Vyavhare, Professor, SDS ITS Indore. Thank you, Madam. Now, I also request Dr. Santosh Dhar, Madam, to please welcome Dr. Manish Manotra, Scientist B, Central Forensic Science Laboratory, Bhopal. Thank you, Madam. Now, I would like to take the privilege to present a brief profile of our session chair, Dr. Santosh Dhar, Madam. Dr. Santosh Dhar is a Dean, Faculty of Doctoral Studies and Research at Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Indore. She has been engaged in teaching, research, corporate training, and consultancy for the last 42 years. She has widely published her work and has more than 394 publications to her credit. Her earlier assignment has been Professor, Sri Vaishnav Institute of Management, Indore, Professor Amity Business School, Amity University, Greater Noida Campus, Professor, Institute of Management and Dean Research at J.K. Lakshmipati University, Raipur. Madam has also been associated with Institute of Management, Nirma University, Ahmedabad, and guest faculty at IIM Kolkata and MICA, Ahmedabad. Many research scholars has been awarded PhD degree under her supervision. She has designed and conducted many management development programs for the executive of several business houses such as Grasim Industries, JK Tyres, Bridgestone, Hindustan Motors, ONGC, and GAIL are few names in this. She has been on the panel of reviewers of Oxford University Press and Tata Macro Hill. She was managing director of prestigious Journal of Management and Research and Prestige Research Abstract. Dr. Dhar has coordinated the implementation of projects on the empowerment of women through enterprise in North India from 2000 to 2002, which was funded by Canadian International Development Agency, CIDA. She has completed the research project on problems of women trainers in India and quality of work life as a detrimental mental health line pharmaceutical industries. She has also been principal investigator for Asian Development Bank funded and Rajasthan government sponsors consultancy project on capacity building of ULBs of different towns of Rajasthan. She has twice been chairperson of Indian Society for Training and Development, Jaipur and Indore chapter, and chairperson of Best Paper Award of the Indian Society for Training and Development. It's a privilege that Santosh Dhar Madam has joined with us as a chairperson for the plenary session 2. We welcome you, ma'am. Now I take the privilege to introduce our speaker, Dr. Prakash D. Vyavhare, Senior Professor, former Senior Professor, Department of Electronic and Telecommunication Engineering, Sri SDS Institute of Technology and Sciences, Indore. Dr. Prakash D. Vyavhare, sir, is a former professor in the Department of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering at SDS ITS Institute, Indore. He received his MTech and PhD degree from IIT Bombay in 1976 and 1995 respectively. He worked at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Bombay as communication engineer from 1976 to 1982. He was Hindu Hitachi scholar at Hitachi Limited, Japan in 1981 to 82. He has joined SDS ITS Indore in 1982 and in the past held various positions in the institute such as head of the department, dean research and development, and dean administrator in NBA coordinator. He was an associate of ICTP UNESCO organization Italy during 1998 to 2005. He has more than 30 papers to his credit in international and national journals, including IEEE Transaction in Communication, IEEE Transaction on Electronic Devices, and IE Transaction on Instrumentation and Measurement. It's a privilege that Sir has joined with us. Now, with due permission of session chair, I request Vyavhare Sir for his lecture.
Can I start?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So at the outset, good morning to everybody. I know today it's a little bit cold day in Indore, but I think the day will warm up as the session goes on. So at the outset, I would like to thank Vaishnav Vidyapeeth teams and congratulate for organizing this TATHYAM activity. I am also happy to see that Dr. Santosh Dhar will be chairing this session. I know Professor Dhar personally for the long amount of time. I'm also thankful to Professor Guru Prasad, Professor Anurag, and Nandini for coordinating the things. Now, having said this, there are a few things from my side. One thing is between the online and offline, I think one can slowly start doing the offline thing, because now what they say is playing to the gallery. And for me, it's difficult to sort of interact. If I'm not able to see the students, neither I shall be able to, encourage them to either solve some problem or ask questions in between. In fact, my strong belief is one learns himself or herself by asking the questions. So, but let us see how it goes on. In case we don't have time to ask the questions, the students can send me an email. So my very first slide will have an email, and I would request students and other people who are attending it that if they have any type of a doubt, I shall be happy to reply. I don't profess that my reply will be perfect, but we're learning experience for this. So every time I deliver a lecture, actually I learn something, and I learn from the questions which the students ask or the audience asks. If I know the answer, it gets enhanced. I don't know the answer, it gives me opportunity to know something more about it. So having said this, we can start with the first slide now. Okay, the last thing is, I understand this, I have to complete my lecture by 12:55 or something. By what time I should finish my lecture? Because there's the next speaker in the line.
Yes, sir, at 1 o'clock.
At what time I should stop?
Sir, at 1 o'clock.
1
The
o'clock.
next
So
lecture will be from 1 to 2.
okay, so what I shall do is I shall stop myself at, let me put some time here, at 12:50 a.m. so that there is some time for the question answer. We may not be able to complete all the slides, but that's okay. My firm belief is even if we learn less, that's okay. But whatever we learn, if we have doubts, we should get clear there and at that point of time. Okay, so let us start with the first slide. Okay, so the topic essentially is introduction to cryptography, historic perspective, secret sharing. The very first question is why this topic is relevant. I mean, is it relevant at all, type of a thing? And we'll slowly see that this topic has become more relevant in a social context today. It was not relevant a few years ago. It was only relevant for either the military people or the government policy people. But today it has become important for every person because each one of us have a digital device, and these devices are connected and the data is being shared by a variety of people. So what are the three topics within electronics and telecommunication, computer science, and information sciences and mathematics? What are the three topics which are of interest for the people, at least for next 2 or 3 decades? One of them is, of course, artificial intelligence. We are seeing there are something called the driverless cars moving and autonomous metro racks moving on there. This is one thing. The second thing is machine learning. So we also know that slowly and slowly the machine will learn to take the decisions. And the third one is cryptography. Now, why cryptography becomes suddenly more important is also for this reason that all these things of machine learning or artificial intelligence can be fooled if your data is not protected. If the source is not protected, destination is not protected, authenticity is not protected, the integrity is not protected, then all these systems can be very easily hacked, as they say. And therefore, cryptography becomes extremely important. This is one subject. The another object, anyway, I think we will go to the another object later on. So let us go to the next slide. Okay, so I attribute this lecture to Vikram Sarabhai. Vikram Sarabhai is, as we all know, is a father of Indian space program. And the first time digital communication came to the people through the satellite, of course, the first time it came through the satellite, because of immense amount of faith of Vikram Sarabhai in the talents of India. So all those who think that all research happens outside and nothing can happen in India and all that, should go and read this book. This book I am talking here is by Amrita Shah, and see under what conditions Vikram Sarabhai could make the space, we pioneer in the research. We should be extremely proud to know that our mission to Mars was the first in the world to become successful at the first attempt, number one. And number two, its cost was 1/3. So those of you who have not read this book or do not know much about Vikram Sarabhai can go also and see a movie called Thambi Effect, Rocketry. So Nambi Effect. So there is if I do not know whether people are taking notes or not. As I said, this is the problem with online. I do not know whether the audience is listening or not, whether audience is taking notes or not. And so it's just sort of in the dark. I am throwing something and something. But I request, I mean, if those who are attending, if they respect their own time, they don't have to respect my time. But if they are respecting their own time and they think it is worthwhile, then the first thing they should note down is this. Note down to see the movie called as Rocketry, the Nambiar effect. And I expect essentially, I'm seeing at least this person, Nandini, that you are Nandini, right? The one whom I'm seeing. Who is the one who I'm seeing here? जिसने मेरे को introduce.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir Archana Pathak.
So I hope at least Nandini and other people are noting down this, because unless the notes are taken, these lectures are not of any use. मैं बोलते रहूंगा, मेरा तो learning हो जाएगा फिर एक बार. But
Right, sir. Definitely, we are following in and we are making the notes.
Right down. Okay,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, Rocketry, the Nambi effect, and go and see this movie. Once you see this movie, what is the strength of the Indian people at different type of places?
Yes.
Okay, so let us go to the next slide. My whole idea essentially is to just to, what you can say, to motivate you, because it's not in such a short amount of 1 hour of time, I can hardly teach anything. So if I can motivate you enough, I think that would be enough. Okay, let us go to the next slide. So next slide is the Claude Edward Shannon. And Shannon is known as the father of information theory. And his one of the paper essentially is confusion and diffusion. Again, note down somewhere. Somebody should note down, read the Shannon's paper on the notion of perfect secrecy. This paper was published in 1949. And anybody who says he's working into cryptography and he thinks he or she has developed any algorithm, whether to find out this algorithm is good or bad, does it have strength or what weakness it has, it must get tested against what is called as the notion of perfect secrecy. So all the algorithms that we use today essentially are tested and found out that at least they are strong enough with respect to what is called as a known plain text attack. I mean, this is again another point that students should note down. If they write an algorithm, they think their algorithm is strong enough, they think their algorithm is better than other, then how do you test? I mean, anybody will say, "Mera algorithm badhiya hai," but usse kehne se nahi matlab hota. So you have to have some objective function, and that objective function is essentially is given into the paper, which is called as notion of perfect secrecy, confusion and diffusion of 1940 Shannon. So Shannon's paper, I think, the another thing that people should. So it's another takeaway. It will take some time for the people to. Okay, go to the next slide. Okay, so these are some of the topics which I'm speaking here. I shall skip many of these topics for one simple reason, that the time essentially is up to 12:50. And again, I do not know what things I should skip and what things I should not skip. So I shall skip in my own way. I mean, because this is dark. So let's go to the next slide then. Okay. So why do we secure? We know we secure our house, we secure car, we secure almirah, we secure locker, we secure data, everything, because we have paid the money for it. हमारे घर बनाने में हमने कुछ पैसे डाले हुए हैं, हमारी कार खरीदने में पैसे डाले हैं, अलमारी में कुछ रखा हुआ है, each thing. So we have invested something amount, and therefore nobody should steal it. Steal में दो होता है, either he or she will share without paying money for that, or he may tamper and make it unavailable to us. तो चोरी होती तो क्या होता है? चोरी होती तो ये होता है कि जो चीज अपने को मिलती नहीं है जब अपने को चाहिए, and therefore we must secure this. Now how to secure? For different things, there are different things. And in the social science hypothesis, because the madam is from management social sciences, I put this particular thing. Given a choice, if possible, लोग चोरी क्यों करते हैं? ये भी एक सवाल पूछा जा सकता है. Possible, some persons, I shall not say all, some persons are lazy, तो वो खुद invest नहीं करना चाहते. They are miser, कंजूस है, selfish, secretive, and impatient. And because of for all these things, essentially, it becomes necessary for us that whatever money we have invested in our data or something, we must keep it secretly. And so there is no fringe lunch theorem, आखिरी में मैंने कहा है, and this is true for data security, which means if you have to secure your data, you have to invest some money into it. अगर आपको आपके घर को secure करना है, तो आपको एक ताला खरीदना पड़ेगा और sufficiently मोटा ताला खरीदना पड़ेगा. अगर आपको कार को secure करना है, तो आपके लिए उसके लिए गैरेज बनाना पड़ेगा, अलमारी को secure करना है, and so on and so forth. So no free lunch theorem says essentially that for everything that you want into the world, you must invest something into it. And if you are getting a free lunch, somebody else is paying for your lunch. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, I shall skip the first few things. I shall just say the data security has become a problem because the very first breach happens is password is given to the others. So I have a machine into the college, some printout was taken, I am being lazy, so मैं password किसी को देता हूँ, ले लो. Then there is also a notion of what is called a key tracker. So we go and use somebody else's machine, and for one reason or the other, and we are not well planned, and therefore as an emergency user, and that machine has a software what is called the key tracker. So what is the key tracker? Whatever password we type, that password is stored into that machine. And if it is stored into that machine, then once we log out and go from that place as a guest, the other person will use it. So if you are using laptop in a hotel, if you are using laptop in some other person, even into cyber cafe, there is a likelihood that your password can be noted when you are typing it and maybe used later on. So there is a simple solution. The first thing is don't do that, plan properly. And even if you have to use somebody else's machine, then if possible, use virtual keyboard. But remember, abhi isme bhi problem hai. Even if you use virtual keyboard, there could be camera into that room. And if there is a camera into that room, then obviously whenever whatever you are typing, the camera will sort of take a note of it, and later on that can be done. Then there is something called the phishing attack. I mean, most of us might be knowing what is phishing attack. Phishing attack is essentially again a laziness. ये सब आलसीपन के धंधे का कारण होता है. We want something, but we don't want to exert into it, even time. So what is the phishing attack? Somebody gives you a link, says click onto this link. You go and click onto the link, it goes somewhere, but shows the page exactly as the original page will be shown. And then what you do? Then you keep typing your confidential data into it. And later on what happens? Because it is not the authenticate server, therefore it says connection failed or login unsuccessful. And then what you do? You then it directs you to the original site. So hota kya hai ki suppose I have a bank account, and then somebody sends me a link, either on email or on WhatsApp or on SMS, or says click this link or quickly go to log into your bank. I click that link. When I click the link, I get a page. The page look exactly authenticated page as that of a bank. Us bank ke page jaisa hi wo page dikhta hai aapko. And then I keep entering everything. Once I keep entering where the data is going, the data is not going to the bank server. The data is going to the server of that fraudulent person. वो सब store कर लेता है. And then what at the end what he says, because he cannot execute those commands, therefore he says login unsuccessful, connection failed. And then he directs you to the original website. Now you do onto the original website, and then you get your transaction done, and you think अरे गलती हो गई, पहले कुछ capital caps lock हो गया था, fast type किया था करके. And then at 2 o'clock into the night, your all data is available with the phishing person, and he will do the transactions from that. So इसलिए India में, I mean, the Indian banking system is the strongest in the world, I can tell you. No, I mean, there might be few other countries. The strongest in the world, matlab, we essentially just consider some European and American countries. So कोई दूसरी country, but Indian, we have what is called as an OTP business. We have what is called as one-time authentication. We have something like an EFT. You go to the bank and do that. In many countries, you have to still go and give the check, because universally they do not have what is called as UPI. So universal payment gateway जो अपने यहाँ पे है, वो दुनिया में कई जगह नहीं है. OTP भी कई जगह पे नहीं है. And therefore the banks are taking their own care, government is taking their own care, so that you don't have this fraudulent activity. But if we ourselves are lazy, अगर हम ही आलसी है और टाइप नहीं करना चाहते हैं, email address, sorry, URL देखना नहीं चाहते हैं वहाँ पे login है कि lock है कि नहीं. So I am very happy. I am seeing here svv.edu.in और उसके सामने lock है. So this secure lock essentially shows that it is actually the website which SVV claims to be there. So lock है कि नहीं, ये भी चीजें वहाँ पे देखना रहेंगे. Okay, and then there is something called the mining. So what is mining? Mining essentially is from a huge amount of data, try to get something out of it. So what they do by this mining and all those things, they try to get a gold mine. What is gold today? The gold is your credit card number, gold is your PIN, gold is your OTP. These are the golds for the people. So they look to the customer profile, they look to those things and try to get that. And therefore, it is extremely important for us to store our data. Next slide. तो ये तो सब मैं बोल रहा हूँ, but ये सच है कि झूठ है. तो सच है कि झूठ है, तो one has to go and see authentically. So there is something called the engineeringchallenge.org. It's a and they conducted a survey along with National Science Foundation. So what is National Science Foundation? National Science Foundation is a US organization, and then they talked with 40 country people and found out what are the challenges for the next century. In the next century, what are the engineering challenges? And we'll keep looking into it, but we don't have to go into all it. The second last, नीचे से जो दूसरा वाला है, that is secure cyberspace. I think you are able to see जो लोग देख रहे हैं, because now it is no time to interact. Neither I can do eye contact nor I can पूछ सकता हूँ हाँ या ना, but hopeful लोगों ने देखा होगा. नीचे से दूसरा वाला जो है, it essentially secure cyberspace. So this cyberspace security is a big challenge for the whole century. ऐसा नहीं कि आज के आज खत्म होने वाली ये चीज. New things will keep coming and this will happen. So go to the next slide. Okay, so what is this? This is spying. But what type of spying is this? This is not military spying. This is not political spying. What type of spying is this? This is social spying. You just want to find out वो आदमी कहाँ चला गया है, घर में है कि घर से बाहर है. You want to see what type of talks are going on between the two people, all these types of things. So in the old days, what they will do, they will send a person, और ये इधर spy दिखा है left side में. So typically, if I am going into a garden and talking with somebody, and they want to find out what type of talks I am doing with that another person, this type of person will go there. He will pretend that he is reading a newspaper. वो ऐसा लगता है कि अखबार पढ़ रहा है, but actually वो हम दोनों जो बात कर रहे हैं, मैं और मेरा दोस्त, उस बात को सुन रहे हैं. So उसने वैसा दिखा भी दिया है कि न्यूज़पेपर के बीच में 2 छेद कर दिए, and he is looking to my body language. He is of course listening to me also. So this was happening into the past. What is happening today? Today Google knows everything. Today we don't have to send spy like this. What Google will do, Google will check what type of emails I have, what type of web searches I have done. And today I have been told that the smart TVs are such that even if the TV is off, and this is little bit, may not happen every time, but the technology is in place. Even your television is off, but if it is powered on, but आपने बंद करके रखा हुआ है, its audio recording may be on. So depending on what I am talking with my wife or my daughter or my son-in-law or my brother, the TV will note, and from artificial intelligence find out what type of words I am talking. So it may take word like travel, it may take word like Mangalore, it may take word like via Bangalore, it may take like this. And then when I switch on the TV, it will show me the advertisements related to the Mangalore, related to the Bangalore, related to the airline, related to the hotel. So this is what one, I mean, people will find different applications. So this one thing is happening. आपको लगता है कि आपका मोबाइल आपको नहीं सुन रहा है क्योंकि आपने मोबाइल बंद कर रखा है. आपको लगा आपको टीवी नहीं सुन रहा है. आपको लगता है आप किसी को देख नहीं रहे हो, बट आपको सब लोग देख रहे हैं. आपको जीमेल वाले ये भी देखते रहते हैं कि आप कितने बजे लॉग इन करते हो, कितने बजे लॉग ऑफ करते हो, कितनी मेल भेजते हो, किस तरह की मेल भेजते हो, क्या वर्ड यूज करते हो. सो व्हाट इज आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस? अगेन आई डू नॉट नो हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू आर एक्सपर्ट इन आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस. आई एम नॉट एक्सपर्ट, बट अभी मैंने कहा अब मैं मेरे तरीके से बताते रहूंगा. सो व्हाट इज आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस? एसेंशियली व्हाट इट ट्राइज टू डू, इट ट्राइज टू फाइंड आउट सम पैटर्न्स, मैचिंग टाइप ऑफ थिंग. कितने तरीके से करते हैं? वन इज नेचुरल लैंग्वेज प्रोसेसिंग. व्हाट इज नेचुरल लैंग्वेज प्रोसेसिंग? इस नेचुरल लैंग्वेज मतलब हम जो बातचीत करते हैं, इस बातचीत में से वर्ड पिकअप करेगा, उस वर्ड से ढूंढ करेगा उसका. सेकंड, इट में हैपन फ्रॉम द इमेजेस. कोई एक इमेज देखी, उसमें से इट विल डिटेक्ट कि ये कार दिख रही है, कार की नेम प्लेट का नंबर क्या लगा हुआ है, और वेराइटी ऑफ थिंग. यहाँ कुत्ता है, यहाँ बिल्ली है, यहाँ लॉक लगा है, यहाँ लाइट खुला है कि यहाँ लाइट बंद है, कितने लोग खड़े हैं. यू टेक ए फोटोग्राफ टुडे थ्रू द मोबाइल, यू विल सी जहां फोटो है वहां पे वो एक्चुअली बताता है कि यहाँ फेस है. Do you know, some of you might be knowing, there is something called the DGA3 today. Again, I cannot ask, but I hope some of you have heard the name DGA3. What is DGA3? DGA3 has started in 3 places. Which are the 3 places? Delhi, Bangalore and Varanasi. On these airports, you don't have to do security check-in today. You don't have to show your boarding pass. तो फिर कैसा काम करता है वो? It works on the basis of artificial intelligence. So what it does? You have to download the DG app. आप आपके मोबाइल में DG app डाउनलोड कर लीजिए. You register with your Aadhaar, and then it's done. That's all. और आपका boarding pass में डाल दीजिए. When you go to the airport, your face will be captured by camera. The face recognition, as soon as it happens, will know कि आप आज इंदौर नहीं, दिल्ली मान लो, दिल्ली और बैंगलोर, दिल्ली से आप कलकत्ता जाना चाहते हैं, और इसी टाइम में अगले 2 या 3 घंटे में आपका एरोप्लेन है. It will also know that what is your gate number. It will know everything, and then you just pass. मतलब आपको सिक्योरिटी वाला चेक नहीं कर, आपका बोर्डिंग पास, नॉर्मली पहले बोर्डिंग पास फिजिकली दिखाना पड़ता था. आजकल क्या होता है? आजकल बोर्डिंग पास को स्कैन कर दो. अभी न तो बोर्डिंग पास फिजिकली दिखाने की जरूरत है, कैरी करने की जरूरत है, न आपको बोर्डिंग पास स्कैन करवाने की जरूरत है. इट विल सी योर फेस एंड ओपन द गेट. आगे का गेट खुल जाएगा, आगे का. सो दिस इज हैपनिंग. हाउ इज दिस हैपनिंग? This is happening because of artificial intelligence. And again, what this intelligence is doing, it is essentially looking at your face in the camera and getting you connected, or It binds you with your original authenticity. So this is another thing that happens in. So there are three things that happen. Either audio, जैसे वो there is something called as Siri. I mean there are many Siri करके है. I do not know. तरह-तरह के नाम आते रहते हैं. And we say Siri, what is the weather in Indore? And he says today it's colder and it's going likely to be rain in the evening and all that. What do you think? Who is talking? किसका आवाज है वहां पे? कोई अलेक्सा नाम की लड़की है उसका आवाज है? कोई सीरी नाम की लड़की है उसका आवाज है? कोई लड़का है उसका आवाज है? किसका आवाज है वहां पे? Any guess? Again, in the blank, I have to sort of ask this question. अपने आप से जवाब देते रहना और पूछना. ये आवाज artificially generated है. This is not a person who is talking there. So it just picks up the data, like words like colder and 19 degrees Celsius and possibility of rain or Indore. This picks up this data from Indian Meteorological Department. वो data लेके the Siri is talking to you. It's going to be colder today. Carry your overcoat. These words are not coming from a lady there. These words are coming which are virtual audio. So the artificial intelligence में तीन चीजें मैंने बताई. एक तो virtual audio बताया मैंने जो Siri वगैरह करती है. फेस रिकॉग्निशन का डिजीलॉक का मैंने बताया, डीजी यात्री का मैंने बताया, और तीसरा है आई टोल्ड यू दैट नेचुरल लैंग्वेज प्रोसेसिंग, दैट डिपेंडिंग अपॉन योर ईमेल दे लुक एट योर इमोशंस एंड डू इनटू ऑल दिस थिंग्स. सो आर्टिफिशियल, बट ये ऑल दिस कैन बी फूल्ड इफ एज आई सेड. हाँ, सो वी आर टॉकिंग टू द राइट साइड ऑफ दिस. सो नाउ टुडे गूगल एक ऐसा रिप्रेजेंटेटिव है, बट गूगल इज नॉट द वन. गूगल के अलावा आपका टेलीविजन भी हो सकता है, स्मार्ट टेलीविजन हो सकता है, आपका मोबाइल फोन हो सकता है, आपके खुद के डिवाइसेस हो सकते हैं, क्लाउड आपका साथ में हो सकता है, आपके कॉलेज का सर्वर हो सकता है, एंड दे ऑल विल फाइंड आउट एंड एसेट योर पर्सनैलिटी एंड डू द थिंग्स. सो दिस इज हाउ द डेंजरस थिंग्स इज. यू दे नो मोर देन व्हाट यू नो. 3 साल पहले मैं अगर कहीं मॉरिशस गया होगा और कहीं मैंने बीच पे फोटो निकाला होगा, मैं भूल गया मैं गया था 3 साल पहले मॉरिशस, मैं ये भी भूल गया कि मैंने वहां कुछ फोटो खींचा हुआ था. बट टुडे अगर मैं खोलता हूँ, मैं नहीं करता हूँ बिकॉज आई डोंट लाइक download every other app and everything, then suddenly it will show him a photograph reminding me of 3 years ago from Google Photos. Now who does this? There is no man who is doing there. It's all data mining, it's all machine learning, it's all finding out those types of things, and they all can be fooled, they all can be compromised. एक healthy आदमी का data, X-ray का सब medical इस पे रहता है. If somebody fools it, healthy आदमी का X-ray 2 साल बाद देखेंगे तो वो dangerously bad भी दिख सकता है if the data integrity has been breached. So I am not trying to scare you. I am just trying to tell you that one must learn, and data security should not be an afterthought. बाद में कर लेंगे ऐसा नहीं होता है कि मैं बहुत मोटा होते जा रहा हूँ, फिर मैं रिटायर हो जाऊंगा, उसके बाद मैं रोज चलना शुरू करूंगा 90 मिनट, ऐसा नहीं होता है. अगर आपको तंदुरुस्त रहना है तो right from the age of 25 you have to find out 30 minutes to walk every day, and on the weekend 90 minutes. So it cannot come later on, and therefore one has to be very careful, and as an engineer we have to give the solution. So those who are attending here are not the one who are there to sort of say अरे मैं क्या करूं. They are the one जिसके पास लोग देख के बोल रहे हैं कि आप क्या करोगे, because आप you claim to be engineer, you claim to be from forensic science, you claim from cyber security. तो आप लोगों को नहीं कह सकते कि भाई हम क्या करें. लोग बोलेंगे अरे हम आपकी तरफ, it's like going to the doctor and doctor पूछेगा कि अच्छा मैं आपको कौन सी दवाई दूं, तो पेशेंट क्या बोलेगा, अरे सर फिर इसके थोड़े पैसे दे रहा हूँ आपको, मैं तो आपसे सलाह देना हो कि आपने बताना चाहिए कि what medicine should I take. So we have to find out the solution. We cannot go to somebody else and say he will give the solution. और अगर किसी को लगता है कि सिर्फ कोई बाहर वाला ही सॉल्यूशन दे सकता है, तो विक्रम सराबी की किताब पढ़ो, तब पता चलेगा कि what is true confidence. True confidence is working yourself and find out the solution, not on depending on anybody else. Now how serious is this issue? ये मैंने थोड़ा बता दिया. Now let us go to the next slide. Okay. Now this is another picture. See how serious this problem is. In 2018, Mark Zuckerberg, and we know who is Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook has to go in front of the US Senate committee, which means जैसे अपने यहाँ पे parliament में से committee रहती है, supreme committee in US everything. And then what he is saying, if you are able to read, it's okay. If you are not able to read, I shall read this. We have a responsibility to protect your information. If we cannot, we don't deserve it. So what Mark Zuckerberg is saying, he's saying we have the responsibility to protect your information. Privacy is becoming a big issue today, because हम हर दूसरा फोटो तो WhatsApp पे डालते रहते हैं. एक जमाना था जब मैं और मेरा भाई और बहन घर में है और मेरे दोस्त की चिट्ठी आ जाए, लेटर आ जाए, और मैंने भाई ने पढ़ लिया या मेरी बहन ने पढ़ लिया, तो मैं उसके साथ झगड़ता था कि व्हाट इज दिस ब्रीच ऑफ प्राइवेसी. ब्रीच ऑफ प्राइवेसी ऐसा वर्ड नहीं बोलते थे, और बोलते थे कि मेरे को मेरे से पूछे बगैर तूने कैसे मेरी चिट्ठी पढ़ ली? अगर मेरी शादी ठहर गई और मेरी बीबी, होने वाली बीबी ने मेरे को कोई चिट्ठी लिखी है, तो वो मेरा भाई या बहन या माँ ऐसा उस खोल को चिट्ठी को पढ़ नहीं सकते हैं। उसके अंदर उसने फोटो भेजा तो देख नहीं सकते हैं, और हो गया तो झगड़ा हो जाएगा घर में कि भाई तुमने ये चिट्ठी खोल कैसे दी? भले ही तुम्हारी होने वाली भाभी होगी, पर मेरी तो होने वाली बीबी है, तो ये पढ़ नहीं सकते हो करके। सो द प्राइवेसी वाज सो मच सो प्रोटेक्टेड। लोग अपने बच्चे को दिखा देते नहीं थे, कहीं काला तिल लगाते थे, कुछ करते थे, ये करते थे। आज क्या हो रहा है? और आज हर दूसरे दिन हर आदमी अपना डीपी पे फोटो डालते जा रहा है, डिस्प्ले प्रोफाइल करके हर रोज अपना मूड बताते जा रहा है। सो फर्स्ट वी वर प्रोटेक्टिंग सोशली आवरसेल्फ, not to get exposed to every other person. Today people are themselves ready to expose. कई लोग हैं जो अपनी बीवी का फोटो डाल देते हैं वहां पे, कई लोग और कुछ करते हैं, कोई बच्चे का डाल देते हैं, इसका डाल देते हैं, पता नहीं क्यों करते हैं। एंड देन व्हेन इट टू whom it goes to Zuckerberg. एंड अगर जुकरबर्ग के वहां पे कुछ मॉर्फिज्म हो गया, फिर ढूंढते बीचो कि गूगल का ऑफिस कहाँ है इंडिया में, व्हाट्सएप का ऑफिस कहाँ है इंडिया में। यूज तो कर रहे हैं रोज व्हाट्सएप, स्नैपचैट का ऑफिस कहाँ है इंडिया में, है क्या? नहीं है। आप तरह तरह के पेमेंट गेटवे यूज करते हैं। I strongly suggest that one must use the payment gateways of the banks only, not of any other person. I am not against anybody. All that I am saying is कि अगर कुछ होता है तो बैंक या फिजिकली आप ऑफिस में जा सकते हो, मैनेजर से मिल सकते हो। किसी का कोई पेमेंट गेटवे यूज करके आपने कुछ पैसे दे दिए नहीं दिए, आए नहीं आए, but in case you lose something, which is the person to whom physically you will go and talk to? ऑफिस ही नहीं मालूम है ना उसका। मैं किसी का नाम नहीं लेना चाहता कंपनी का, बट मोस्ट ऑफ इस तो फिजिकल ऑफिस ही नहीं मालूम है। चल रहा है तब चल रहा है। मैंने एक बार एक मैंने टैक्सी बुक करी, ऑटो, 150 रुपये लगते हैं, उसने 300 रुपये, 250-300 रुपये ले लिए। आई सेड व्हाई आर यू चार्जिंग सो मच? ही सेड देखो आपको तो मैसेज आ गया है, आपको भी मैसेज आ गया है, देना पड़ेगा। देन आई सेड ओके मैं आपको देता हूँ, लेट मी गो एंड फाइंड आउट। मेरे को इंदौर में उस कंपनी का ऑफिस ही नहीं मिला, आपको भी नहीं मिलेगा। मैं नाम लेना चाहता हूँ किसी कंपनी का, बट यू अंडरस्टैंड। 4 तो कंपनी है जो कार टैक्सी चलाती है, और 4 तो पेमेंट गेटवे है जो कि जिनका कि ऑफिस आपको इंदौर में मिलेगा नहीं करके। तो वन हैज टू बी केयरफुल, वन डजंट हैव टू बिकम जस्ट ट्रेंडी एंड लेजी करके। आपको कोई भी कुछ दे देगा रास्ते में, आप खा लोगे क्या? बेहोश हो जाओगे, बीमार हो जाओगे, कुछ हो जाएगा करके। ऐसा फ्री का लंच जो है उसको बड़े संभल के लेना चाहिए। कम से कम ये तो भी देखना चाहिए किसने दिया है आपको। कल आपको उल्टी हो गई, यू शुड बी एबल टू गो एंड टॉक टू दैट पैरेंट से, अरे इसने मेरे को ये खिलाया था, इसको मेरे को उल्टी हो, किसी अजनबी से कुछ ले लिया, दैट डजंट वर्क। एंड यू कैन सी दिस व्हाट इज हैपनिंग हियर। सो ही सेज वी हैव रिस्पांसिबिलिटी टू प्रोटेक्ट योरसेल्फ, एंड यू नो वेरी वेल आवर आईटी एक्ट अभी इस टाइम पार्लियामेंट में पास हो जाएगा अपना आईटी प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट। मोस्ट प्रोबेबली ये जो भी कल से सेशन शुरू हो रहा है, या शायद आज से पार्लियामेंट्री सेशन 4 अप्रैल तक चलेगा, इसमें शायद पास हो जाएगा। Years after years we are sort of trying to refine it, but we don't have everything into the place as an act, as a result of which Google को, Facebook को कई डॉलर्स का जुर्माना ऑस्ट्रेलियन सरकार लगाती है। GDPR इज इन प्लेस, जनरल डेटा प्रोटेक्शन रेगुलेशन इज इन प्लेस इन यूरोप, वहां पे लगाती है। अपने यहाँ पे लगाने के लिए प्रॉब्लम आता है बिकॉज अपना एक्ट अभी पूरी तरह से पास नहीं हो। तो ये हो जाएगा तो इनको, गूगल को यहाँ पे भी लोग पकड़ सकते हैं। अगर आपका डेटा किसी को और भेज दिया, आपने मुफ्त में किसी को डेटा दे दिया, कहते हैं टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस आई एग्री। उस टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन में क्या क्या लिखा रहता है हम पढ़ते ही नहीं है। उस टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन में हो सकता है कि आपके सब फोटो जो है मैं किसी को भी दे सकता हूँ, एंड यू कैन नॉट ऑब्जेक्ट टू दैट। एंड वो से हाँ यार दे दो, अब क्या करो, आपके सर्वर पे तो पड़े हुए हैं, मैं खुद ही हो के मेरे दोस्तों को बांटे जा रहा हूँ। तो खुद ही डेटा अपना प्रोटेक्ट नहीं करना चाहते हैं, तो किसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इसको प्रोटेक्ट करने की? whatever you say as whatever social media है, वो क्या धर्मादाय खाता चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट है क्या? वैष्णव चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट जो कि नॉट फॉर प्रॉफिट रन कर रहे हैं? डू यू थिंक दिस कंपनीज आर रनिंग फॉर जस्ट कि टू मेक इंडियंस हैप्पी, कि भाई गुड मॉर्निंग कहेंगे तो भाई को अच्छा लगेगा, बहन को अच्छा लगेगा? और दे हैव सम बिजनेस मॉडल इनटू दैट? ऑब्वियसली दे हैव बिजनेस मॉडल। एंड व्हाट इज द बिजनेस मॉडल? The business model is to find out your psychology and sell it to the advertisers who will give you a proper advertisement in such a fashion कि आपको सिर्फ वही चीज परोसी जाए जो आप देखना चाहते हैं। And therefore one has to be careful in this. So now the word essentially written. What is the word written here? Data is new oil and new soil. What does this mean? Again, I don't have anybody to whom I would sort of look eye contact and say what does this mean. But पहले जो वार होते थे, युद्ध होते थे, किसके लिए होते थे? जमीन के लिए होते थे ना, सॉइल के लिए होते थे। तो लड़ने के बाद मिलता क्या था उस राजा को? वो एक जमीन का हिस्सा मिल जाता था जिसके ऊपर वो राज कर सकता था। देन द वार स्टार्टेड फॉर ऑयल। इराक का वार किसके लिए हुआ? इट हैपेंड फॉर ऑयल ना। And so today, why the war will happen? It will happen for the data. So there was a First World War, there was a Second World War. First World War all on physics, because path of a projectile is a parabola, or gun की range कितनी रहेगी, तोप गोला कितने दूर जाएगा, कितना impact रहेगा, it was all physics. The Second World War had a lot of chemical things or aerospace type of thing. Now the Third World War happens, it will be just sort of hacking each other's website, blocking each other's access. So you might be knowing that few years ago, the whole pipeline in one of the developed country, gas pipeline was blocked. Usko band kar diya. Why? Because it was all computer controlled, and those passwords were hacked, and they gave control such that it could not work. And then they paid a large amount of money to get that password, because of total computer dependent cheez hai ye. Few days ago, even at one of the airport, the flights were delayed for a long amount of time, just because the data was not protected properly. And therefore, as he says, the data is, पहले जमीन के लड़ते थे, अब कोई जमीन के लिए नहीं लड़ेगा, फिर ऑयल के लिए लड़ते हैं, ऑयल के लिए अभी भी लड़ते रहते हैं, बट डेटा के लिए लड़ना बहुत आसान है. क्यों आसान है? बिकॉज वो जो डेटा ब्रीच करने वाला आदमी आपके सामने दिखता ही नहीं है. आप किसको गोली मारोगे या किसको जेल में डालोगे? उसको ही मारोगे जो आपके सामने फिजिकली दिख रहा है. आपका डेटा ब्रीच किसी ने कर दिया है, डेटा ब्रीच करने वाला आदमी आपके देश में नहीं, किसी दूसरे देश में है, जस्ट थ्रू इंटरनेट कनेक्टिविटी आप वो आपके आ गया और आपके डेस्कटॉप पे का डेटा उसने ले लिया है. नाउ क्या कर सकते हैं आप? वो तो आदमी फिजिकली नहीं है ना वहां पे, कोई फिजिकली दिखेगा, फिजिकल ऑफिस होगा, आदमी होगा तो पकड़ोगे करके. एंड देयरफॉर one has to protect all of it. So next slide. So therefore, the exchange of information is extremely important for psychological reason. अपन भाई बहन को फोन करते तो उसमें कोई बहुत बड़ा ये नहीं रहता, डिसीजन टेकने. It's also for making decisions. And I have this already talked. I have talked about voice, picture, video, and data traffic. It had a military value, as I said. But today the war can be won within 3 seconds. अगर किसको पहले डेटा मिल गया तो. Okay, so बालाकोट की information सबको मालूम है. And as I also said, I spoke more about this, that information generation involves a lot of financial and human effort. अपन जो पैसे बैंक में रखते हैं बड़ी मेहनत से, कई सालों की मेहनत से करते हैं, और किसी ने वो डेटा ऐसा ही वहीं से निकाल लिया तो of course, and therefore information is a very valuable commodity. And then for information के ऊपर उसने कहा है ना कि it is like a gold, we must protect it, otherwise वो छोटे से टाइम में कोई भी उसको चुरा के ले जा सकता है. Okay, next. Okay, man, I think we will go to the next one. Okay, the only this slide says one thing is कि अभी इस देश में ये important इसलिए हो गया कि पहले आज से 20 साल पहले we didn't have so many mobile phones with the people. We don't have injection of this much amount of work. Today, what is happening? Today, the country population is 130 crore, 135 crore. There are 100 crore mobile phones. Of these 100 crore mobile phones, maybe 85 crore mobile phones are smartphones. And therefore, they have data storage onto that. And therefore, it is extremely important to protect the data on your mobile also. If there were very few phones, people would not have others. But now every other person has its own mobile phone, and therefore OTP has to be protected. So next slide. Okay, from this point onward, in next 10 minutes, I am going to say what we have to do. ये तो सब कुछ हो गया. So what we have to learn for this? So cryptography is mother of information security. The way in which you have to do is a number theory. And what is cryptography essentially? Representing a number. You know, every text essentially is a number. A, B, C, D, whatever you write, how does A, B, C, D is represented on your computer? It is stored in the form of an ASCII code, American Standard Code for Information Intelligence. So there is some number. So maybe A is stored as with hex value 41 type of a thing. So now this 41 has to be represented as some other number as 83. And from 83, the hacker will not be able to find out what this number is unless you know the key by which from 83 you will come back to 41. Encryption is a way to protect privacy and integrity of the data. So what are the two things? I mean, there are 5 things actually, but the main thing essentially is to protect privacy. You don't want to disclose your own data, and integrity. You don't want to get it checked. I mean, for example, my date of birth I will consider as private. Somebody will say it's not private, but anyway, date of birth is not so much so private. But if my date of birth itself is a password, then of course it's so much so privacy, because anybody who knows my date of birth, he will guess my password. Normally passwords कैसे decide होते हैं? आपके घर का नंबर, आपका डेट ऑफ बर्थ, आपके पिता का डेट ऑफ बर्थ, माँ का डेट ऑफ बर्थ, माँ का नाम, बाप का नाम, स्कूल का नाम, बहन का नाम. How many words are there? 100, 200. So if all these 200 are known to a hacker, he can very easily find out your password, and therefore you have to protect and integrity of the data. If you are taking out 500 rupees from the bank or transferring 500 rupees to me, only 500 should come to my account, not 50,000 from your account. And the integrity becomes. So this subject has gained important, as I said, because the endpoints are increasing. There are so many computers, so many Apple, whatever, Android phones, desktops, servers, all sorts of things. And how it should be happened, this is the right thing like TATHYAM should do. It needs education. So the subjects has to be taught much more in depth, just than having one lecture or two lecture like this. It has to be done with much more seriousness, with reading more number of books, completely end to end, finding out the mathematics which is required for that. Just words, vocabulary से कुछ नहीं होता है. Vocabulary तो आजकल किसी को भी कुछ आती रहती है. Just I know 10 words, false positive and false negative and this thing and confidence interval and sigma and variance and median. ऐसे शब्दों से क्या होता है? शब्द 50 ऐसे कोई भी ठोक सकता है. But what this median value essentially means? What is the difference between mean and median? What is the difference between mean, median, and average? I hope somebody is writing these words. I do not know if you are writing or not. Either you know everything or you don't want to learn this. If you know everything, this lecture does not have much meaning. But if you do not know and not writing, what is median, what is mode, what is average, how they are different, when which one is to be used, then essentially the knowledge comes. So we have to educate people in complete depth. Complete depth means some spending 200 hours per year on this type of thing. Technology, one has to also learn on technology, because all these things have gone from paper, is they, as they say, from farm to the field type of thing. So we must know the proper technologies which are required for doing this, and social awareness. Social awareness, of course, is for the society to do that, but the first two parts are for us. Okay, next slide. So again, I hope some 30% of the teachers are attending this. Again, the distribution is unknown to me, the age distribution is unknown, but okay. So now this is one of the very famous statements. This is not my statement. This statement is by Richard Hamming. And those who are from electronics and telecommunication and computer science and information technology and all sorts of things know who the Hamming is. So who the Hamming was? Hamming was the one who first formalized what is called as an error correction code system. So what is error correction? Error correction essentially is to find out which bit has been inverted either during transmission or into the storage and finding it back. And Hamming, before Hamming, what was happening? There was a parity bit. So what a single bit parity bit can do? It can detect odd number of errors. It cannot detect even number of errors anyway, because parity will be satisfied if the two errors happen out of whatever block here you have, but odd number of errors it can do. And his famous statement was, damn it, if it can detect the error, why it cannot correct the error? Machine. But of course, machine will not do anything. What machine will do? What you say machine will do. Machine is a damn full system. It's like whatever algorithm you write. And then Hamming also was a Turing Award winner person. And you know, there is a word called Hamming distance, there is a word called Hamming weight, and those types of things. So what the statement? This statement is for teachers. It's for students also. What it says? Teacher should prepare the student for students' future, not for the teacher's past. So मेरा जो आपने बायोडाटा पढ़ा उसका कोई मतलब नहीं है, because it's all old history ना, उसमें से कोई भी काम की चीज थोड़ी है. Prakash Vyavhare has to be relevant. Prakash has to read something in last 1 year or 2. अगर पिछले 2 साल में मैंने कुछ नहीं पढ़ा है, तो जो पुरानी कहानी थी, I am paid for that. That is finished. And then hence teacher must prepare themselves for future technologies. And this is also the responsibility of the student, that they should be ready for future technologies. The student should attend complete class, take down complete notes. And if you want to again read the book, go and read this book, the Hamming's book called as The Art of Doing Science and Engineering. This is a very relevant book.
What they do is,
yes. So this book, I think people will note down and read it later on. Okay. So there are two-party game, which is called a code maker. And next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so there are two people who are the code makers. They invent and implement best possible secure codes and cipher. So what is the difference between code and cipher? Again, one should know what is the difference between code and cipher. The code is a replacement for a word. So Indore के लिए कुछ नाम रख दिया. So Indore is something like गेहूं, and Bombay के लिए कुछ नाम रख दिया. Bombay is like samudra type of a thing. So in code you replace one word by another word, and in cipher each one of the letter is replaced by another word. And you have to make stronger codes. Why? Because there are people who are trying to break the codes. the code breakers try to get sensible words out of the meaningless thing. There is also another important area that people should learn, and that is called as steganography. Steganography and watermarking is another topic that the student should learn and make projects into that. So I already given you certain amount of topics for learning into it. And there, this is not a single man's work. No single man can do. The knowledge is expanded like a sphere. एक balloon को फुगाते तो कितना बड़ा होता है. So who are the people who should work together? I have written there: computer scientists, mathematicians, machine learning people, computer networking people, digital forensic people, and linguistic experts. All these people, if they work together, then some fruitful project will come. No single person can do this thing. आपको 2, 3, 4 लोगों की टीम लेना ही पड़ेगी, उसमें से हर एक को सीरियसली इसमें काम करना पड़ेगा और तभी ये हो सकता है. Okay, next. I think I should skip all and we will directly go to one slide. Are you able to see the slide number? If you are able to see the slide number, then go to slide number 27 directly. Okay, so these are the things. So what essentially we want, what violations can happen? The first violation that can happen is the confidentiality. The confidentiality may get lost. That is, जो data है वो मैं नहीं चाहता हूँ कोई दूसरा सुन सके, but वो उसको सुन पा रहा है. The second thing is data integrity may be breached. That is whatever the number. So for example, Vaishnav Vidyapit tells me that I have got 69 marks, and then I go and handle some to server and it puts 89 marks. तो 69 के 89 मार्क्स हो गए तो घर वाले तो खुश हो जाएंगे, but actually तो मार्क्स वही है. Third is misauthentication. That is the person has not signed it, but you sort of feel that that person. So forgery of signature, delay in service. You know, website gets hacked, and non-repudiation. What is repudiation? Repudiation is taking the responsibility that I have sent it. So it may so happen that you may read the email and may say मैंने तो email पढ़ी नहीं, and who will prove that कि पढ़ी कि नहीं पढ़ी? Same way, you may send a mail and later on you may send कि मैंने ये तो mail भेजी ही नहीं थी. So all these things have to be protected, and for this protection, you require certain amount of mechanism. And how that mechanism has to be done? That mechanism has to be done by learning 3 mathematical tools. What are these mathematical? One is prime factorization is hard. I hope some of you know what is called as an RSA algorithm. Every time you make a payment on your desktop, you should read all these things. It says 128-bit SSL protected data is being sent everything. So one is prime factorization hard. Second is discrete log problem, and third is elliptic curve. So I think again these 3 topics somebody is noting down from the teacher's point of view. They should go and teach into the class why prime factorization is hard. They should go and teach into the class what is discrete log, how Diffie-Hellman algorithm works, how RSA works. And once you know those into the depth, then you will know what is their strength. You will know where to use them. You will know their weaknesses. You will also know how to stop those weaknesses and apply into it. Next slide. So I think probably this is the last bus-on slide because now it is 12:51. And so there are 3 things in what is called as this triad. Triangle कहते हैं ना ऐसा. Confidentiality must be protected. Confidentiality मतलब जो data जा रहा है तीसरे को पता नहीं होना चाहिए. Integrity मतलब data जो है उसकी value change नहीं हो जाना चाहिए. और third, availability. Availability मतलब जैसे मैंने कहा ना कि otherwise if the site gets hacked on particular date, then obviously people will go to another shop. 1-2 शॉप है, मेरा शॉप नहीं चल रहा है, पड़ोस वाले का शॉप चल रहा है, तो मैं क्या करूंगा? पड़ोस वाले के शॉप में मेरे दोस्तों को भेज दूंगा 50 लोगों को, वो कोई भैया ये देना, भैया वो देना, भैया वो देना, तो दूसरा नेक्स्ट आदमी आएगा बोलेगा अरे इस दुकान में बहुत भीड़ है, he will come to my shop. So the same thing happens when large amount of bombarding is happened. And how the government of India stops it, how the railway stops it? By using CAPTCHA. So if you go on website on railway and try to hack the website, you cannot do that, because for every inquiry that is raised, it gives you a question, very silly question, 30 plus 20. That question is very silly, 30 plus 20, 50 से किसी को बताने की जरूरत नहीं. But by doing that, you cannot generate, a machine cannot generate automatically request after request. In absence of that, you can create a machine such that it will create 100 queries per minute or something, and then the server will get blocked and it will get flashed. So I think these are the 3 things that again people should look. What are the methods? We don't have time to look for the methods. So now let me go and see which slide I should be able to show you, because there are too many slides into it. but I shall go to the last one slide probably. Okay, let me show you what slide one should go. Okay, go to slide number 81. It's almost like a course, na to abhi 50 minutes complete karna mushkil hai. Okay, so this is something. Now you think that you have done good encryption. आपने सब बढ़िया कर दिया and you think everything is very fine. Okay, तो ये ओरिजिनल पेंगुइन था, ये आपको भेजना चाहिए था और आप सोच रहे थे कि मैंने इसको कुछ कर दिया है and now data is protected. But you can see this protected data is revealing enough amount of information. ये डेटा प्रोटेक्टेड दिख ही नहीं रहा है ना, वो पेंगुइन में उसमें कई तरह से दिख रहा है. एक्चुअली होना क्या चाहिए, once you do this, the picture should look like the one which is at the rightmost side, and therefore you have to use different types of modes. Okay, now the last slide could be page number 85. Slide number 85. Okay, so this is what one has to do in what is called as the secret sharing system. Now, आपका पासवर्ड एक्चुअली 2 पार्ट में तोड़ना है, 2 लोगों को देना है, इसलिए कि कोई भी एक आदमी उसको नहीं खोल सके. एंड दिस हैपेंस इन बैंक. बैंक में होता है ना, बैंक में एक चाबी आप लगाते हो, एक बैंक का ऑफिसर लगाता है, तभी वो आपका लॉकर खुलता है. So this is something like this. There is a message, and as I say, message is a gold. मैसेज ही सब इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है आज के लिए. तो ये लास्ट वाला मैसेज है, मीट ऑन फ्राइडे एट 7 PM. दिस इज द मैसेज दैट यू वांट टू सेंड, बट यू डोंट बिलीव इनटू द पीपल विथ हु द मैसेज इज गोइंग. सो व्हाट यू विल डू, पहले आदमी को ऊपर वाली पिक्चर दे देंगे कि भाई तू ये पिक्चर जाके देखिया, दूसरे वाले को दूसरी पिक्चर देंगे और बोलेंगे या तू ये जाके देखिया. जब तक वो दोनों पिक्चर मिलती नहीं है तब तक ये नीचे वाला मैसेज नहीं आएगा. And this is called as secret sharing scheme. Where are these used? They are used in very strategic places. अगर आपके पास न्यूक्लियर मिसाइल है तो उसका पासवर्ड एक ही जगह नहीं रख सकते. क्यों नहीं रख सकते? क्योंकि वहां बॉम्ब गिर गया तो पासवर्ड चला गया, पासवर्ड चला गया तो बॉम्ब ही यूजलेस हो गया. और किसी उसकी मल्टीपल कॉपी नहीं कर सकते, बिकॉज इफ यू हैव मल्टीपल कॉपीज देन देयर इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी दैट वन ऑफ द कॉपी कोई चुरा के ले जाएगा. सो देन द ओनली वे एसेंशियली इज टू डिवाइड इनटू मल्टीपल नंबर ऑफ पीसेस एंड देन such that 5 out of 3, this is called essential threshold scheme. If you do like that, then one will. Okay, the last one I'm not showing to the slide, I'm just speaking from my side. What is the future of cryptography? The future of cryptography is in quantum cryptography. Now obviously for next few years the quantum cryptography will still remain either a matter of academician or matter of governments, because वो इतना सस्ता होने वाला नहीं है. Nothing comes free. मैंने पहले ही बोला था, कोई भी चीज फोकट में मिलती ही नहीं दुनिया में. अगर आपको क्वांटम क्रिप्टोग्राफी यूज करना है और आपको 10 करोड़ का सेटअप लगाना है तो कोई आदमी जिसके 50 लाख रुपए बैंक में 10 करोड़ रुपए थोड़ी डालेगा. पर 10 करोड़ कौन डालेगा? फिर 10 करोड़ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया जरूर डालेगी, मिलिट्री जरूर डालेगी, क्योंकि पूरे देश की सुरक्षा का सवाल. बट फ्रॉम द एकेडमिशियन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू दे हैव टू फर्स्ट लर्न कंप्लीट क्लासिकल क्रिप्टोग्राफी एंड देन ओनली शुड स्टार्ट लर्निंग क्वांटम क्रिप्टोग्राफी. इसमें कोई मतलब नहीं है कि आपने classical cryptography की weaknesses देखे नहीं है और suddenly quantum cryptography चले. But however, we cannot neglect this topic. One has to start learning at least the ABCs of quantum cryptography. So with this, at this point, I shall stop. I know I have hurried around and then I had something like 104 slides. So last slide now, 104, slide number 104. And this is a philosophical slide now. Okay. So what does this slide show? Oh, 104. Thank you, Ali slide. Thank you. So what does this slide show? This slide is showing 4 names: Aditya Nalvaiya, Keval Kumar Soni, Shivani Sharma, and Arshita Pathak. What is this showing? This is showing that these are the 4 students जो मेरे को क्लास में सवाल पूछते थे, और वो सवाल पूछते थे इसलिए स्लाइड्स अच्छी बनी. और सिर्फ सवाल ही नहीं पूछते थे, जब हम जॉइंटली उसके आंसर ढूंढते थे तो वो स्लाइड बनाने के लिए मेरे को मदद भी करते रहते थे. And this is what the teaching learning process is. Process doesn't happen by component. Process happens because of interaction with the component. मेरे को दाल चावल हल्दी दे दी तो भी मैं खिचड़ी थोड़ी पका पाऊंगा. जिसको खिचड़ी पकाने का नॉलेज है वही कर पाएगा उसको. So same way, all things have to be a group work. I am insisting again and again. And the last thing I would like to say again philosophically, अगर आपने कुछ काम किया है तो don't forget that this is happening because of your institution. आप कोई पेपर पब्लिश करो तो वैष्णव विद्यापीठ का नाम लिखना उसमें मत भूलिए. सिर्फ अपना नाम मत लिखिए, जिन लोगों के साथ में काम किया है उनका भी नाम उसमें लिखिए. And then you will see that you will enjoy this learning, and each one will have a confidence of doing teamwork into the long time. Thank you very much once again. And if there are questions, I am ready to take them. Otherwise, one can send me on email. And my email is on the very first slide. So if you want, you can just show the first slide, and that's the end of it. थैंक यू विनोद। स्लाइड नंबर 1 एक बार फिर से दिखा दीजिए बस लोगों को ईमेल के।
Yes, sir. We will share your email in our chat box also, so that student can access and
बट
connect
ये
to the.
स्लाइड ऐसे उनको ही शेयर करना जो उनको मैं बोलूंगा। आई डोंट
Yes,
वांट
sir, yes.
डोंट वांट टू स्पेंड टाइम एंड जस्ट ऐसा करने के लिए। स्लाइड कौन सी भेजना है मैं डिसाइड करूंगा, बट ईमेल आप सबके साथ शेयर करें।
जी सर,
And I should be happy to see the question. The success will lie if I get email. If I don't get email, तो फिर ठीक है। Okay, next. खत्म। Thank you.
yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing such a knowledgeable lecture with us. And you have highlighted a very important topics like artificial intelligence, how we can safely use the technologies. And sir, we are certainly have some questions. The first question is from Mr. Dinesh Kamble. Sir, blockchain technology is a solution or a risk to society in context of cryptocurrency? What you can say about this?
Cryptocurrency is one of the applications of blockchain. Blockchain applications exist at many places. Blockchain applications even happen in your Aadhaar cases. So आपने आधार के ऊपर आपका नाम बदल दिया, नहीं नाम तो नहीं बदल सकते, आधार के ऊपर आपने एड्रेस बदल दिया, आधार के ऊपर कोई चीज बदल दी है। हाउ डू यू इंश्योर कि पुराना डेटा को किसी को कोई ब्रीच तो नहीं कर रहा है? So cryptocurrency is something different. Cryptocurrency is one of the applications. So what does blockchain do? If the person is from computer science, he should know that there is something, a notion called as a hash function. So what it does is every transaction that happens has a hash function associated with it. And then when the next transaction happens, this hash function is used as a part of the transaction. So this is something, अगर किसी को समझना है blockchain कैसा काम करता है, then this is also called as a distributed ledger. तो लेजर क्या होता है? आपका पासबुक होता है। लेजर क्या होता है? बैंक में लेजर होता है। तो उसमें क्या होता है? लास्ट ट्रांजैक्शन के बाद लिखते हैं कि अभी आपके खाते में इतने पैसे बचे। फिर कोई ट्रांजैक्शन हो गया तो उसके आगे कहते हैं इतने पैसे बचे। तो आप पुराने डेटा को चेंज नहीं कर सकते, नहीं तो फिर कितने पैसे बचे? मेरे खाते में 5,000 रुपए आते थे, फिर कुछ ट्रांजैक्शन होते होते मेरा कोई आज नंबर आ गया, मैं सडनली वो 5,000 को ऊपर 10,000 नहीं कर सकता हूँ, क्योंकि अगर वहां 10,000 कर दिए मैंने तो हर जगह की आज के दिन की टोटल चेंज हो जाएगी। सो blockchain has many applications and blockchain will remain there for variety. मैंने कहा ना अभी कि मान लो किसी के एक्सरे, मेरे एक्सरे अगर मान लो किसी सर्वर पर रखे हुए हैं, कोई बदमाश आदमी है वो मेरे को डराना चाहता है, तो वो क्या करेगा? 2 साल पुराने मेरे एक्सरे में कुछ तो भी एक डॉट निकाल लेगा, इंटीग्रिटी खत्म कर देगा। तो जो भी डॉक्टर देखेगा नया हो तो बोलेगा अरे 2 साल से इस मामले में बीमार हो। सो ब्लॉकचेन एसेंशियली चेनिंग, एक से एक को चेन को बांधना, जो किसका चेनिंग करते हैं, किसको चेन करते हैं? एक दूसरे से पुराने डेटा को। और चेन करने का मतलब क्या है? चेन करने का मतलब ये है कि बीच में से आप कोई निकाल के कोई दूसरी चीज उसमें घुसा नहीं सकते। आपने स्वेटर है, स्वेटर में क्या होता है? स्वेटर में चेनिंग होता है ना, लोकर का इधर से उधर करके, उसमें से कुछ काट पीट के नया आप वहां घुसा नहीं सकते। Cryptocurrency is a different notion. It's essentially from the economics point of view, and I have no knowledge about that. But as far as blockchain is concerned, it essentially every block has a hash function. That hash function is used with next transaction, and then distributed ledgering is another thing, because of which from variety of places you can do. आज इतना आधार फास्ट क्यों है? by the way 100 करोड़ लोगों का डेटा है, ये है, क्यों फास्ट है? Because of course they have it at distributed places, and then they are able to do that. So blockchain certainly one has to learn. I think next person will talk about it. Cryptocurrency वापरना का नहीं वापरना मैं बोल नहीं सकता, because it's a matter of economics. And मेरा हमेशा कहना है कोई लंच फ्री में नहीं रहता है, तो मुफ्त में पैसे भी नहीं मिलते, जो मिलते हैं वो मुफ्त में चले भी जाते हैं। So cryptocurrency is a matter of policy, but blockchain is a technology that at many places, as I said, including Aadhaar, और इवन मेरे ख्याल से मैंने सुना अभी तहसील ऑफिस में भी यूज करेंगे उसको, ताकि कोई बीच में अपना वारिस नहीं घुसेड़ दे। बीच में कोई जमीन रहती है ना, जमीन के हैंडओवर होते रहते, चेंज होते रहते नाम, तो लेजर में आप चेंज करोगे तो खड़ा खोड़ी दिखेगी, है ना। पासबुक में आप कुछ 500 के 5,000 पर तो खड़ा खोड़ी दिखेगी। तो डिजिटली इसको कैसा करें? And there the hash function is being used. Okay, next question. Thank you, very good question.
Yes, sir. One more question is there. Much of steganography and public key cryptography can lead to a better security of data.
Okay, the applications are different. So what is public key cryptography? Public key cryptography says that even if I do not have a formal contact with the person, I should be able to say. So public key cryptography has 2 keys. एक ही ताले को जिससे आप लॉक कर सकते हो, उससे अनलॉक नहीं कर सकते हो। So public key cryptography has 2 keys, but public key cryptography is slower system. Public key cryptography में key distribution का problem solve होता है। Otherwise क्या होता है, you have to distribute the key, and key distribution requires a secure channel. Now you may not have a secure channel, so let me take an example. कि मान लो आपको कोई information, just for an example, किसी health minister को भेजना है, भारत सरकार. अब वो हेल्थ मिनिस्टर को जो आपको इन्फॉर्मेशन भेजना है, मैं दूसरे नाम नहीं ले रहा हूँ, बट हो सकता है प्राइम मिनिस्टर को भेजना चाहे किसी को या किसी को. अब वो इन्फॉर्मेशन कॉन्फिडेंशियली जाना चाहिए और उनको भी पता होना चाहिए कि इससे आई हुई है. तो अभी आप इतने महान आदमी तो हो नहीं ना कि आपको कोई जो बड़े मंत्री है उनके साथ में की एक्सचेंज करके आपको भी सिक्योर की देंगे. सो दे विल हैव ए पब्लिक की. You can use the public key to decipher that. The private key will be those people. So public key has very different application. One has to understand that आप अभी थोड़ी देर पहले मैंने बोला था RSA algorithm. तो public key cryptography का main idea ये है, the problem of key distribution is being solved into that. However, having said that, public key cryptography is slower. So then public key cryptography is used to establish a symmetric key connection, and finally symmetric key से ही होता है. तो आपका जो Google Secure है वो public key cryptography से है. Steganography has another thing. Steganography has very large amount of overheads. So in many cases it's like watermarking type of thing. So it has large amount of overhead. तो अभी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में लिया जाए तो मान लो एक कोई मूवी बनाई हॉलीवुड वाले ने और उसकी डीवीडी कुछ बन गई बाजार में और वो लाइसेंस ही मिलना चाहिए. अब कोई पायरेसी करेगा तो क्या करेगा, उसकी कॉपी बनाएगा, उसके अंदर एक डिजिटल सिग्नेचर होती है. एंड फॉर दैट प्लेसेस स्टेगनोग्राफी आर यूज्ड. स्टेगनोग्राफी का मेन आइडिया ये है कि अगर किसी ने डुप्लीकेट कॉपी बनाई तो उसको पता नहीं चलना चाहिए कि उसके अंदर कुछ हिडन सिग्नेचर. जैसे वाटर मार्किंग होता है ना, आपने नोट होता है, नोट में देखा होगा आपने फर्जी नोट और असली नोट में आप फर्क देख सकते हो. सो इट इज दोस टाइप्स ऑफ थिंग. बट डिजिटल स्टेगनोग्राफी भी एक अनदर इंपॉर्टेंट फील्ड है एंड पीपल शुड वर्क ऑन टू वाटर मार्किंग. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Only these two questions.
nascent state और इसमें बहुत काम करने का एक्साइटमेंट भी है और एप्लीकेशन भी है और जॉब भी है. दिस इज न्यू फील्ड, सो सोसाइटी नीड्स इट फॉर द फ्यूचर. थैंक यू.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. बहुत अच्छा लेक्चर आपने शेयर किया and very relevant topics, बहुत recent debatable topics you have discussed. Thank you so much, sir. Now with respect, with due permission with session chair madam, we can proceed for the next lecture. Now, before starting, I would like to take the privilege to introduce our second speaker, Dr. Manish Malhotra, Scientist B, Physics, Central Forensic Science Laboratory, Directorate of Forensic Science Laboratory, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. He has completed his PhD from a prestigious university, Dr. Hari Singh Gaur Central University, Sagar. Sir is associated with Senior Scientific Assistant Physics at Forensic Science Laboratory, Bihar, Patna, from November 2018 to November 2020. He assisted many examinations and cases in Forensic Physics Division, Audio, Video, and Ballistic Divisions. Sir is also associated with Senior Scientific Assistant Physics Division at Forensic Science Laboratory, GNCT, Delhi, from December 2020 to January 2021. He has also examined real cases related to Physics Division and Audio Video Analysis. Currently, Dr. Manish Malhotra is associated with Central Forensic Science Laboratory, Bhopal, examination and reporting of crime case exhibits related to forensic physics, computer forensic, mobile forensic, audio video forensic, and imparting training and lectures to the students, trainees officer from other organizations, conducting research and development work in the respective subject area. Sir has contributed many research articles in the relevant field. He has published research article titled Photogrammetry Study of Horoscopic Index in Central India for Sexual Dimorphism, published in Gap Indian Journal of Forensics and Behavioral Science, Volume 2, Issue 2. He has also published article titled SEM Studies on Some Animal Hairs with reference to scale pattern and scale count, published in Journal of Emerging Technologies and Innovative Research in Volume 6 and Issue 6. So now I request Dr. Manish Malhotra, sir, to please start his lecture.
Thank you so much for that, for these kind words and welcome. And very good afternoon to all. I have been listening to the previous lecture also, and it was very informative for me too. Uh, should we begin? Let's start our topic.
Yes, yes.
Just give me a few seconds to just share my screen.
Sure, sir.
Is my screen visible to all?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
So today's topic of presentation is death investigation. As we all know, we belong to a forensic community, and investigation is the core uh, core of the forensics. And death investigation, among all investigation, is very crucial in terms of uh, solving cases. So let's start. So before understanding, before proceeding, we should understand what actually death is, and what death means. So there is a clinical definition also for death, which is cessation of all biological functions that sustain a living organism, like those biological functions that are very essential uh, for an organism to sustain, so that we can term those living individuals as living. So when life stops with the biological functions of body, it's known as death. So clinically, death can be divided into two parts. One is somatic death, and another is molecular death. But for the investigation purposes, we classify it into two parts. First is natural, and second is unnatural. So unnatural death can be further classified into three types: suicide, homicide, and accidental. So what is accidental? Accidental death can occur due to both causes. It might be natural and man-made reasons, such as flood, lightning, road accident, electrocution, uh, radiation, etc. Another thing is homicide. Then homicide is to kill the other person, and that homicide can also occur in two ways. One is legally, and second is illegally. So for our presentation purpose, we'll be talking about the illegal homicide, which is also known as murder. And the suicide is when a person kills themselves. So let's start with the accident. As I talked, like accident can anywhere. And the investigation part is comparatively comparatively easier uh, in the case of accident as compared to uh, homicide and suicide. So there are few characteristics of an accident type of death. One is the source of accident and the factors associated are generally found near the deceased, because there is no involvement of another person, or that there is no deliberate involvement of another person. So the source of accident and factors are that it lacks a factor of natural phenomena. Uh, in like the like natural phenomena, by natural phenomena we means that it will be lacking death due to diseases and all. And another thing is that violence, sign of struggle, defense wounds, which are the characteristic of homicide and suicide, these are not present on the scene of crime and in the case of accident. And all the evidences generally, in most of the cases of accident, remain untouched in original form. Uh, Only if there is an involvement of some natural causes such as rain, wind. So, those cases, some evidences might be relocated to some other place. But in most of the cases of the accident, all the evidences remain untouched in original form nearby scene of crime. So, in most of the cases, and like in almost all of the cases of accident, there are usually several witnesses. Uh, in some cases where no human, no humans are present nearby the scene. In those cases, there might be a possibility that no witnesses can be found. But in almost all the cases, several witnesses are found in accident type of cases. So let's come to homicide. Homicide is, as we know, that it's a killing of another person apart from self. Uh, Homicide has some characteristics. Homicide can occur anywhere. Where the human involvement is there, homicide can occur. Like it can be indoor, outdoor, in a field, in a farm, in automobile, in river, in space also. So second thing is that most of the homicides involve weapon of offense. Like human, if a person is trying to kill another person, that person usually uses a weapon of offense to kill that person. It might be firearm, knives, poison, ligature, etc. So in homicidal scene of crime, the crime scene can be found very neat and clean, tidy, and messed up also. So we cannot ascertain a homicide scene of crime by just looking at the condition of the scene of crime. We can find both type of scene of crime. Either it can be tidy and clean, tidy or messed up. Most scene of crimes have sign of struggles. Most scene of crimes have sign of struggle because if a person is trying to kill some other person, there is the possibility of struggle, and those signs will be present on the scene of crime. But in some cases, it may absent. Uh, One should note down the sign of struggle. If the sign of struggle is present, then it is a indication with a high probability that it is a case of homicide. So these some sign of struggles could include disturbed furniture, broken objects, some marks of weapon, some like rod and some metallic rod, some even marks of bullet holes on the walls and all. Disturbed carpet, torn clothes, abrasions on the body, broken and plugged hair, broken button, and uh, and there is usually in a case of homicide, there is usually the wounds position is uncommon. There would be uncommon position of wounds. Uh, if they are if an investigator is finding this kind of thing, then it is a very clear indication of a homicide. More than one wound can be found in homicide as compared to suicide. And then, if mutilation of private parts is there, it is a definite indication of a homicide. Fully naked body of deceased is indication of homicide. Body in sack, body by and wounds by blunt tools, mutilated body, absence of weapon. Absence of weapon in most of the cases of homicide is a sign of homicide. Is a sign, but absence of wound is not necessarily as a sign of homicide. And if a body is tied by some rope or some other ligature, it is a sign of homicide. So now let's come to suicide. Suicides can usually be caused by hanging, drowning, even with firearms and poisoning, just like homicide, suicides can occur anywhere. And in some cases, it also resembles homicide, and it becomes very difficult to distinguish between a suicide and a homicide. So it is very necessary to gather information related to the physical and mental condition of the deceased. Like what was the physical and mental condition of the deceased if we are investigating a suicide case. And almost most of the like suicide cases, in almost all of the suicide cases, there is a motivation factor uh, lying in the background. That's why we need to gather um, as much information as we can get related to this disease, either physical or the psychological condition. So, to find out the motivation factor. Uh, Most suicides are being done in the isolation because of the non-involvement of other individuals to stop that act. Tools used in suicide cases, such as weapon or poison, are in most of the cases are present at the scene of crime because of the non-involvement of another person. The suicide note indicates a suicide. If you are finding a suicide note, that indicates suicide, but it is very necessary to check its authenticity because a suicide note can be implanted in a case of homicide also. Wounds are found only in limited places as opposed to the homicide one. Wounds are in only limited places because a person when committing suicide does not try to you know harm uh, harm themselves in multiple places. Presence of hesitation wound also indicates suicide. Hesitation wounds are those kind of wounds that are being given to themselves uh, in hesitation, or like just trying that how much pain will it cause, will it sufficient or not? Because even in suicide, a person tries not to get involved in crucial, sorry, intense pain. So the presence of hesitation wound indicates it's an indication of suicide. In suicide, we generally it's very rare to find mutilation of mutilation of organs, even like mutilation of private parts and all. It is a very rare case. So as I talked earlier, if mutilation of bones are there, then it is an indication of homicide. In suicide, it does not. It is very rare to find these. Uh, there is a lack of sign of struggle also because there is no struggle with another person uh, in case of suicide. So, and another thing is to note in the cases of death. These are the three categories that we discussed: suicide, homicide, and accidental. Now, how to investigate a scene of death? We should note these things. First is the physical condition of the deceased. We are finding a dead person at the scene of crime. So first we should note that what was the physical condition of the deceased, and then second is the condition of the body. What is the decomposition factor, rigor mortis, algor mortis, etc. And any action taken by insects or animals, whether there are flies, beetles present or not, what kind of fly is present, what kind of larva is present. All the action taken by insects and the presence of insects and animals, it should be noted down. And another thing is the proximity to blood spots. Like the body is how far the body is the blood spots found at the scene of crime. Whether the blood spots and the body are at irrelevant positions or relevant position. Note down. Another thing is to be noted down, which is very important, is blood spatter pattern. Blood spatter pattern can give valuable information in the reconstruction of the scene of crime of the death. Then type of wound. What type of wound is there? If you are finding any kind of wound, uh, swelling is there or not? Bullet penetration, entry wound, exit wound, We should note down where is the entry wound, where is the exit wound. Uh, if there is a bite wound, we have to, like, each and every kind of wound, we have to categorize it. We have to study it properly. We should not confuse the wound with the, like, confuse the exit wound with the entry wound. So, like, it can uh, give false results in the course of investigation. So if in case of mostly in cases of suicide and hanging, the position of rope, what type of rope, what type of ligature was used, whether that ligature is whether it ligature can sustain the weight of an average human body or not. Uh, how many knots are there on the ligature? What type of knots are there in ligature? In the case of ligature, it should be noted down. And as I said, the condition of the body should be noted down. Rigor mortis has been set or not. Algor mortis, what is the condition of algor mortis? And what is the liver mortis? Like, coloration of or discoloration of the body, where we are finding it. We should not. So another thing that is important to note in the cases of death investigation is injuries. To classify the injuries, to find out the weapon of offense. Injuries basically can be classified into four parts. First is mechanical force, second is thermal, third is chemical, and other miscellaneous. So mechanical force can be applied by three types of weapons. One is blunt weapons, sharp weapons, and firearms. Thermal injuries can occur in two ways. First through heat, and second is through cold. Chemical injuries can occur through acids or bases, and miscellaneous such as radioactivity, lightning. So mechanical injuries, as we classified into three parts: blunt, sharp, and firearm. In blunt weapon injuries, we can find abrasions, bruises, and lacerations. In sharp, if we are finding incision occurred, it should be considered that it was a sharp weapon. If it is a puncture wound, we can um, say with some high probability that it is a sharp weapon. And if we are finding an exit and entry wound and with some blackening, tattooing, charring, etc., we can say for sure that a firearm was used as a weapon of offense. So, while investigating death, an investigator find difficulty uh, in differentiating between hanging and strangulation, and ante-mortem hanging and post-mortem hanging. So we'll be looking for these two differences. So there are some the features that varies in the hanging and strangulation, and there are some features that are similar in hanging and strangulation, which creates a distinction, and also similarity can create confusion and clarify also to an investigator that what type of scene of crime is there, or what type of crime occurred. So in hanging is like generally suicidal. Hangings are generally suicidal, but in some cases it can be homicidal also. Strangulations are generally homicidal as compared to hanging. Strangulations are generally uh, homicidal, but in some rare cases, it has been found that a person has strangulated, has committed suicide with the help of strangulation. In hanging, ligature mark is termed as V-shaped or U-shaped, and which is oblique and fragmented, and it is found above the thyroid cartilage, which is between lower jaw and larynx. In strangulation, the ligature mark is actually circular, horizontal, and continuous around the neck, and it is below the thyroid cartilage in the center of the neck. When we observe the face in the case of hanging, we see the petechias are very rare in the case of hanging. The petechial hemorrhages are very rare on the face, but in strangulation, petechial hemorrhages are very common. Uh, Struggle marks in hanging are generally absent because it is generally suicidal cases. In homicidal cases, we might find struggle marks, but in case of hanging, these are very the kind of rare. In strangulation, as opposed to hanging, we can find struggle marks. Then blood oozing from nose, mouth, and ear. In hanging, it is rarely present, but in strangulation, we can find blood oozing from mouth, nose, ear, and other openings. Then trickling of saliva and protrusion of tongue is generally present in case of hanging, but it is mostly not present in the case of strangulation. And injuries to muscles of the neck is rare in hanging, but is common in strangulation. Then fracture of larynx and trachea. It is kind of rare in hanging. The larynx and trachea does not get fractured in case of hanging, but in very rare cases, we might find, but it is very rare. But in strangulation, we can find that even hyoid bone is fractured. Then let's see the difference between antemortem hanging and postmortem hanging. So antemortem hanging means a person has committed, a person was alive when hanged, and postmortem hanging is that a person was hanged after the death has occurred. So in these two cases, ligature mark will show that some vital reaction. In antemortem hanging, the tissues under the neck are very dry and parchment-like. It has become dry. But after if a person has been hanged after death, in postmortem hanging, so no such reaction would be observed. Salivary dribbling mark may be present in antemortem hanging, but would be absent in postmortem hanging. Cyanosis may be seen at the nails, face, ears, and lips, but it will not be seen in the postmortem hanging. Petechial hemorrhages on face, eyes, and ears may be present on the antemortem, but absent in the postmortem. Tongue protrusion will not be in postmortem hanging, but will be present in the antemortem hanging. Uh, then fecal and urinary expulsion might be present in antemortem, but it's absent in the postmortem hangings. Postmortem lividity is generally seen in the case of like in antemortem hanging is seen on the legs, soles, and whatever part that is hanging uh, below most part. But in case of post mortem hanging, these post-mortem lividity or liver mortis can be found in other parts that are not being hanging below. If but it can be found similar to the antemortem hanging if the body is being hanged within 2 hours or very soon after death. Struggle marks will not be found in antemortem, but may be found in postmortem hanging. Like as a cause of death is hanging in general cases in antemortem hanging, and but in case of postmortem hanging, the cause of death might be other than the hanging. Suicide note may be present or absent in both of the cases. Door closed from the inside when we look at the indoor scene of crimes. The door might be closed from inside in both of the cases. But in post-mortem hanging, it might be door might be closed from the inside in some rare cases where a door can be closed from outside, like inner side bolt or inner side lock can be made closed from the outside. So overturned stool, chair, etc. is generally present in the cases of anti-mortem hanging, but generally absent in the cases of post-mortem. So here are some examples I'll show you to Like there are some real case examples. Let's look at them. So this is a typical example of hanging. But in hanging, it is a case of a partial hanging, as you can see that one leg is on the stool, and there is no displacement of stool from the horizontal surface that is giving support. So in these, this is a typical example of partial hanging. In these kind of cases, an investigating officer or police personnel generally confuses it with the homicide because of the support support of the body with the horizontal surface. But these cases are these type of partial hanging cases are common in suicides. Uh, another example of a partial hanging where both of the knees are supporting the body, even when there is a support of the horizontal surface or body. Uh, there is a support on the body. A hanging can occur or death can occur. So this is also a very good example of a suicidal hanging. As I talked, that there is a protrusion of tongue and saliva. In hanging cases, we can find the dribbling of saliva, trickling of saliva, and protrusion of tongue, as we can see in these images. In cases of hanging, protrusion of tongue occurs. Uh, Mutilation of parts and strangulation, the ligature marks below the mid of the neck, uh, circular marks. These signs we can see in this body, and it is a very like, prominent or very important signs of homicide. So an investigator can just look at these signs and just easily distinguish it with from accidental or suicidal crimes. Uh, Another thing, just if mutilation of private parts is there, then it's a definite case of homicide. As we discussed in case of suicide, the weapon of offense is found generally near the uh, body, near the deceased. So this is a type of a suicidal case in which a person has committed suicide using a firearm, and all the evidences uh, contributes towards the suicide, suicidal reconstruction of the scene of crime. This is a case where death of person occurred while jumping from the five floor building. And in these kind of cases, sometimes a dummy is used to demonstrate the jumping of a person to reconstruct crime, that how a person could have jumped from that high and how far from that point that person's body would reach. Whether it's a case of suicide or homicide, to like differentiate between a case of homicide or suicide, whether initial force was given to the body or not, the body just released itself from the support of the from the horizontal support. Mm. There was another case. It's like one of the rare case in India, in which a person was seen hanging naked in his apartment, and the door was closed from inside. Uh, it was from just by looking at the scene of crime, there was a confusion, or there was a discussion among the investigators as to what type of crime it is, whether it is an accidental one, whether it is a suicidal one, whether it is a homicidal one. Because the signs of homicides, if a naked body is being found, then it is like it's a homicidal one. Then if a door is closed from inside, it's a suicidal one. And there was a debate among the investigators. As we can see in this picture, that a person was seen hanging from the ceiling using three ligatures. One was hanging his neck, and two each were hanging the legs. In another view, we can see that there was a towel uh, wrapped around his neck, and then the ligature was uh, not knotted down. And there was we can see a sign of struggle here with the thumb of the with the hand of the hand and the leg near the ligature. Uh, that he's trying to remove that ligature from the leg. So it was later found out that it was a case of autoerotic hanging, autoerotic asphyxial hanging, in which this person was trying to you know was getting sexually excited or getting sexual desires by hanging or by uh, letting his body to like hypoxia condition, but accidentally he died because of the because didn't took he didn't take much precautions while committing this kind of act. Any questions? Thank you so much for.
Thank you, sir. It was a very interesting lecture. You have shared with us the real cases, the insight of real cases, how we deal in the forensic laboratories. So it was a very knowledgeable as well. We have some questions, sir. First question is, what are the real challenges faced by forensic scientists in dealing the accident cases inside and outside the laboratories?
Yeah. The foremost challenge that we tackle is that the first approaching authority on the scene of crimes does not do their work properly. Like if a common citizen is approaching a scene of crime, then he doesn't know about the formalities that should be taken place at the scene of crime. The scene of crime gets disturbed by the local authorities and the even the local people. So when a forensic expert reaches the scene of crime, most of the evidences get lost or their positions get like, uh, misplaced or displaced. So that and it poses very like difficulty in reconstruction of the scene of crime, reconstruction of the investigation of the cases, and the reliability of the evidences gets lost in the due process. You are not audible. Actually.
Yes, sir. There is one more question. If any person kills other person by choking neck by hand and hang the dead body by rope to show that the suicide has been committed, how forensic expert prove that this is a murder?
As a if a person is choking person from the hand, then the cessation of bodily functions occurs. Now there comes a part that how far what was the time between what was the time gap between choking and hanging. First of all, that creates a difference. That liver mortis will set or not. If you are choking and then just keeping that body in some place, and after 4 to 5 hours, you are just then taking the body and hanging it, then the liver mortis will be set on the back of the
Body
body.
parts.
Because another thing is if you are like just doing it within the 2 to 3 hours, depending on the temperature conditions also. if you're doing it in within 2 hours, then what happens? Like after choking, the cells are the body's body vital organs are getting like stopped. Now the with the histopathological examination, the ligature will not show any hemorrhages. The ligature will not show the hemorrhages because the hemorrhages has already been done with the help of choking. Where the choking has done the damage, the histopathological examination will show there only, not on the ligature part.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Now, I request Dr. Santosh Dhar, Madam, Dean Faculty of Doctoral Studies and Research, Shri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Indore, to please conclude the session. Please, ma'am.
Well, the sessions have been very informative and insightful. The lucid style of the resource persons have made the sessions engaging. The queries have been addressed very nicely, which has added flavor to the sessions. Finally, what are the takeaways from the sessions? Now, our first speaker deliberated upon cryptography. Now, cryptography is a technique of securing information and communications through use of codes so that only those persons for whom the information is intended can understand it and process it, thus preventing unauthorized access to information. Professor Vivare also talked about how to sensitize ourselves against these cyber crimes. He said that he talked about CIA triad, where confidentiality, integrity, and availability are important. He also talked about what is the future of cryptography. And he said the future is quantum cryptography, where academicians and governments' involvement will be more. Now, the use of cryptography and its techniques in digital forensics is widely increasing, but it is also helpful also and challenging also, because encryption makes data recovery complex, whereas decryption or cryptanalysis helps forensic examiners to retrieve encrypted data. Now, our second speaker talked about death investigation. Well, the primary goal of death investigation is to establish the cause and manner of death. The role of death investigation extends much further than simply answering two questions. A common question we say, how does it matter now when the person is dead? But well, it is true, the dead cannot be benefited, but the value in death investigation can benefit the living future generation. The examination of death scene and the subsequent collection of potential evidential material requires special skill, knowledge, aptitude, and attitude. The manner in which death sentence investigation is conducted may be a critical factor in determining the success of investigation, as we could see how the resource person described it through different slides. The thorough examination of a death scene requires a disciplined and systematic approach to recording the various observations made and collection of potential evidential material. This must be combined with the analysis of various observations and the interrelationships of potential evidentiary material. Thank you so much, our resource person, for educating us. Thank you once again to all, and over to the who was the anchor.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. You have concluded the session very well. Once again, I am thankful to all the guests, all the dignitaries, all the HODs, HOIs who have joined with us in the plenary session too. Now we are having our second technical session starting from 2:30 p.m. So I request all the dignitaries to please join.
Hello.
Thanks, madam.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
With the permission of session chair, now I request the technical team to please close the session. Thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Ayush sir. Ayush sir.
काम करो इधर देख लो ना दिख रहा होगा लास्ट का देख लो बदल जाएगा एडिट कर दिया मॉर्निंग
वो बोलता है भाई हटे नहीं बाहर नहीं है ना मतलब प्रॉब्लम शुरू हुआ है
हेल्प अभी guys who have joined with us the previous session too. Now we are having our second technical session starting from 2:30 p.m. So I request all the dignitaries to please join.